So, dear students, so today our topic is mechanism of urine formation. So, already in the last class, we are learned regarding the components of the urinary system. So, those all components, so they are mainly involved in the urine formations. So, the kidney, it is one of the important parts of the urinary system. So, that kidney consists of the structural functional unit. So, that was known as the nephron. So, nephron is the site for formations of the urine. Our nephron is involved in the filtrations of the body fluid. So, during the filtrations of the body fluid, so the urine is formed. So, dear students, daily, so 180 liters of urine will be the formed in our body. Okay, so the capacity of our kidney to filter the body fluids and involved in the formations of urine is 170 to 180 liter per day. But so that much urine cannot be excreted. Only among them 1.5 liter. So that was excreted through a urine. So that's why. So whatever the formed. Okay, so whatever urine will be formed. So that was consist of the various mechanism. So today we learn regarding the one by one. So regarding the highlights of the mechanism of urine formation, the urine will be formed in the nephrons in our body by following the three mechanism. So one is that was the glomerular filtration. It is also known as the GFR. Okay, so this is the site for glomerular filtrations. So our glomerular apparatus or Bowman's capsules, okay, it is having the microvasculature or arrangements of the capillaries. So there is a, so due to that arrangements, it was responsible for the filtrations of the body fluids. So between the nephrons and that is the Bowman capsules or glomerular capillaries, certain semi-permeable membranes are present. So those membrane, so they are helpful for the filtrations of the fluid. So that mechanism is known as the glomerular filtration or GFR. So already I told to you, so per day that is 170 to 180 liter, okay, of urine is formed. Okay, but 170 to 180 liter that cannot be excreted. Only 1.5 liter per day. So that was excreted. Okay, in the rainy seasons. But in summer, that is also decreases because maximum body loss. So that can occur through the sweatings. So due to sweating, so where the more water can be lost through a sweating. So that's why kidney, so that was involved in the balancing of the body water by inhibiting the excretion. So that's why another mechanism is present in the urine formation. So that was known as the tubular reabsorptions. Okay, so that was occurs in the other part, that is the proximal connective tubules, lobe funnel, distal connective tubule, and collecting tube duct. So these are the other parts of the nephron. So where the whatever the urine is formed, such that was back or re-enter into the our blood. Okay, so that whatever the urine, whatever the water was formed or filter urine is formed here. So from the urine, the water, essential components of amino acids, then electrolyte, so they are reabsorbed. So re-enter into the our circulation. So that mechanism is known as a tubular reabsorption. So due to that, only 1.5 liter can be excreted out of the 170 to 180 liter due to presence of the tubular reabsorption. It is nothing but re-entry of the substances from urine into the blood or into the plasma. So that phenomena is known as the tubular reabsorptions. So next one, that was known as the third mechanism involved in the urine formation, that is the tubular secretions. So different parts of the kidney, once again, certain substances, so they are secreted into the urine, nothing but certain substances, So these are not filtered by the glomerular capillaries due to larger size. So these capillaries is only allow the substances to filter. So those are less than the 100 Dalton in their size. If the size is increases, so those are cannot be filtered. So due to that only the plasma proteins cannot be filtered in the normal kidney. Okay, plasma protein, so their size is the more than 100 Dalton. So that's why, so those protein cannot be filtered or cannot be excreted through the urine only. So due to problem in the nephron or glomerular apparatus, so then only the protein can be found in the urine. So when you are going through the renal kidney function test, so when the if you found the protein means in the urine, so that indicates somewhere there is a problem in the kidney or nephron, because the protein cannot be filtered due to larger particle size or larger size, they are more than the 100 Daltons. So like that, creatinine, hippuric acid, uric acid, urea, so these size is also larger. Okay, so they cannot be filtered from the glomerular capillaries, but in the final urine, so those are present. Okay, so that is by the mechanism of tubular secretion, certain substances from blood, so they are enter into the urine. So that phenomena is known as the tubular secretion. So these are the three important phenomena or mechanism. So those are involved in the formation of the urine in our body. So first we discuss regarding the glomerular filtration or ultrafiltrations. It is the process with the help of the glomerular capillaries and Bowman capsules. Okay, so our body fluid can be filtered. So what are the filtrate? So that was accumulated in the lumens or in the tubules of the nephron. So that was known as the urine, and that process the filtrations of the body fluids through a glomerular capillaries or semi-permeable membranes that was formed between the Bowman capsules or glomerular capillaries. Okay, so that phenomena is known as the glomerular filtration or ultrafiltrations, or it is also known as a, that is the G GFR, that is the glomerular filtration rate. Okay, so glomerular filtration rate is regulated by a hydrostatic pressure. Okay, glomerular filtration or filtrations of the your body fluid, so that was mainly depending upon the hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure means, so due to flow of the fluid in the blood vessels due to presence of water, so that can be moved in the blood vessels from the arteries to the capillaries, capillaries into the veins, venules, then into the arteries. So like that, that was the along with the blood, so that body water can be moved or body fluid can be moved. So due to that, it can create certain hydrostatic pressure. Okay, so the pressure is generated due to flow of the water or fluid in the blood vessel. So that pressure is known as the hydrostatic pressure. So that pressure is regulate the glomerular filtration or ultrafiltrations. So in the glomerular apparatus or in the glomerular capillaries and Bowman capsules, so these two blood vessels, so they are play an important role in the filtrations of the body fluids. Okay, so one is the afferent arterioles. So afferent arterioles are the type of the blood vessels or arteries. So they carries the blood, okay, body fluid towards the glomerular capillaries or Bowman's capsules. Okay, the afferent arterioles, so they carries the body fluids or blood towards the Bowman capsules or glomerular capillaries. So they consist of the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, and next one is the afferent arterioles. So these are the once again types of arteries. So they can carry out the body fluids or blood away from the glomerular apparatus. Okay, so one is the supply blood to the Bowman capsules, and another is the to carry the blood away from the, that is the glomerular capillaries or efferent artery. So whatever the arteries, capillaries or microvasculature, so they are present in the enclosed in the Bowman capsule, so those are known as the glomerular capillaries. So these three blood vessels, so they are play an important role in the glomerular filtrations, because so arteriole, so they having the normal size, so then the capillaries, so they're having the smaller size as compared to arterioles. Okay. So then the blood can move from the arterioles, that is the afferent arterioles, into the glomerular capillaries, and the glomerular capillaries are the having the semi-permeable membrane. So they are filter the body fluids and involved in the formations of the urine. And as compared to efferent arterioles, okay, afferent arterioles, so these efferent arteriole, so their size is smaller, so their diameter is smaller than the afferent arterioles. So these efferent arterioles, so their diameter is a smaller as compared to afferent arterioles. So these are larger. So due to larger diameter, so the more blood can be accumulated here, and the smaller diameter, so that blood cannot be escape from the glomerular capital. It can be stay here because more blood can be accumulated here due to larger diameters of the afferent arterioles. But efferent arterioles, so they will be having the smaller diameter, so that's why the little amount of the blood can pass away from the glomerular capillary. So that's why, so the more time, so that the blood can stay, or body fluid can stay in the glomerular capillaries or Bowman's capsules. And as well as you know, so our body fluid is consist of the water, so that will be the move always from high concentration to the low concentration. So due to movement of that fluid, it can create the certain pressure. So that pressure was known as the hydrostatic pressure. So that was helpful for the filtrations of the body fluids or formations of the urine. So that phenomena is known as the glomerular filtration or ultrafiltrations. Okay. So regarding the net filtration pressure, that is also written as the NFP, that is the net filtration rate. It was calculated by GBHP minus CHP plus BCOP is equal to 10 mmSg. So this much pressure is required for the glomerular filtration, that is the 10 mmSg. If this pressure decreases, then GFR is decreases, and if this pressure is increases, then GFR rate is increases. If it is more than that, it was create the problem on the kidney. There is a chance of the damage of the kidney. And here NFP means net filtration pressure, and GBHP means that was the glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure, that the pressure occurs due to movement of the water in the glomerular capillaries. So that was known as glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure. So that was minus by summations of, that is the CHP. CHP means capsular hydrostatic pressure, plus that is BCOP, that is the blood colloidal osmotic pressure. So due to presence of the colloids are nothing but proteins or larger particles in the blood, so they are also create certain pressure. So that pressure was known as the blood colloidal osmotic pressure. And due to flow of the body fluid in the capillaries, that was also create a certain pressure. So that was known as the CHP or capsular hydrostatic pressure. Both pressure, that is the BCOP, that is the blood colloidal osmotic pressure, so they are opposed the glomerular filtrations. If these pressure increases, means the glomerular filtration rate is decreases. And GBHP, that is the glomerular blood hydrostatic pressure increase, means the glomerular filter GFR is increase. So that's why, so the net filtration pressure is required for the glomerular filtration. So that was calculated by that is GBHP minus, that is the capsular hydrostatic pressure, plus blood colloidal pressure. When you submission that one, it should be required about 10 mm Sg. If it is decreases, automatically the GFR is decreases. If it is increases, GFR is increases, but definitely that was responsible for to cause of the damage to the blood vessels. And normally, so glomerular filtration rate is that the GFR is 125 ml per minute. So it is the normal rate. If it is any varies, so that it can signifies the kidneys are under the problems. And per day, so the glomerular filtration rate is 170 to 180 liter per day. But among 170 to 180 liter, only 1.5 liters of the urine, so that was excreted from the our body. So remaining, so that was recirculated or that was reabsorbed. So that reabsorption, that was mainly depending upon the intake of the water. So as our intake of water is decreases, automatically the reabsorption is increases, the urine output will be the decrease. So like that, the first mechanism, so that was involved in the formations of the urine is, so that was the glomerular filtration, or also known as the ultrafiltration. So that was formed or that due to the membrane, so due to formation between the glomerular capillaries and as well as the Bowman capsule. So that was mainly depending upon the glomerular hydrostatic pressure. Okay, so normal rate is the 125 ml per minute. So next we can discuss regarding the selective reabsorption, that is the entry of the essential substance return to the blood by urine. Simply, whatever the body fluid is formed, so that also filter the certain electrolytes, certain small amino acids, glucose, but or vitamins, but our body continuously they require the electrolytes. But those all electrolytes, so they are reabsorbed, re-enter into the our blood from the urine or tubule of the nephron. So that phenomena is known as a selective reabsorption. And selective reabsorption, it is the essential for reabsorptions of water, because per day 170 to 180 liter water urine is formed. Urine is nothing but compositions of water, but urine consists of the 99% water. It means among 180 170 liter should be the water. So that much that was reabsorbed. If it is not reabsorbed means continually we can take the more and more and more and more and more and water. But the God made certain supervisions in our body. So that was the tubular reabsorptions or selective reabsorption. So that's why, so they are re-enter into your body. So then they are helpful for the reabsorptions of water, glucose, amino acids and electrolytes. If in your body water is more means the less tubular reabsorption occurs. If the patient suffering from the hyperglycemia or diabetes mellitus means the glucose will be not reabsorbed, that was found in the urine, and also amino acids and as well as the electrolytes. If they are excess in our body means then only they are excreted. If they are deficient in our body means so all are, so they are reabsorbed. So regarding the site for selective reabsorptions, so they are mainly occurs in the, that is the proximal convoluted tubule. So this is the place of the proximal convoluted tubules. Then loop of Henle, so this is the loop of Henle. Then DCT, so this is the from here to here, this is the DCT, that is distal collecting tubule. Then this one is the collecting duct. So here the urine can be collected. So these are the four parts of the nephron. So where the particular electrolytes or particular substances, so they are reabsorbed. So due to that, so this phenomena is known as a selective reabsorptions. So in the proximal contratubule, the glucose, that is 100% of glucose, so that was reabsorbed from the proximal converted tubules, and 100% oligopeptides are smaller proteins and amino acids, so they are also reabsorbed from the proximal convoluted tubules and vitamins and lactate. So these are all are reabsorbed. They cannot be excreted. If they are excess means then only they are excreted. And as well as 50% of urea. So that should be the reabsorbed from the proximal converted tubule. So regarding the loop of phenol, so loop of phenol, it is preserved for the reabsorptions of the electrolytes. So here in the loop of phenol, 25% of sodium, so that should be the reabsorbed, and chloride as well as 15% of water and bicarbonate, 20% of potassium, calcium and magnesium, so that was reabsorbed in the loop of phenol. In the proximal also sodium, chloride, water, bicarbonate, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphate, so they are also reabsorbed. So in proximal convoluted tubule, it is just, it is a part of nephron just after the, that is the Bowman capsule. That site is known as the proximal tubule. Here maximum all substances, so they are reabsorbed. And the wall of the, so these proximal tubule, so they are mainly consist of the certain channels. So like sodium channels are there, chloride channels are there, then sodium chloride channels are there, or sodium potassium channels are there, or sodium potassium ATP channels are there. So through these channels, so they are absorbed. Okay, certain channels, so they are considered as the symport, and certain channels, so they are considered as the antiport. Symport means the both molecule, so they are move in the same directions. The both, like a first, the sodium can be enter from urine into the blood. Okay, so it was create certain ATP. So that ATP was utilized the reabsorb or entry of the glucose from urine into the blood in same direction as a sodium, and such transports is known as a symport transport. And antiport, so that is the opposite direction. One molecule can enter inside from urine to the blood, and same time another molecule, so that was exist from blood to the urine, and such phenomena is known as the antiport. And these are the two phenomena or two mechanism, so they are responsible for selective reabsorptions. One is the entry of sodium that can create energy, so that was helpful for the entry of the glucose or amino acid, and such phenomena mechanism is considered as the symport mechanism or symport transport. And antiport means the sodium can enter, okay, into the blood from the urine, in same time the potassium can out of the blood from blood to the urine, so that was enter, so the both molecules, so they move in the opposite direction, and such transport phenomena is known as the antiport phenomena or antiport mechanism. So these are both main mechanism, so they are involved in the selective reabsorption, and they are helpful for the absorptions of glucose, amino acids, electrolytes, urea, as well as, okay, many other substances along with the water. In the distal collecting tubules maximum, so here, so maximum the electrolytes can be reabsorbed, like 5% of sodium, chloride, 8% of water, bicarbonate, magnesium and phosphate, so that was reabsorbed in the distal collecting tubules. Regarding the collecting ducts, here the electrolyte and some urea, so that can be absorbed. So urea, 5% sodium, then chloride, water, bicarbonate and calcium, so that was reabsorbed also in the collecting duct. But the main site for reabsorption, selective reabsorption, is the proximal convoluted tubule. Here maximum substances, essential micronutrients or biomolecules like glucose, amino acids, so they are reabsorbed. Okay, so that's why, so these are the various sites, so where our biomolecules can be reabsorbed, so re-enters. This is the second mechanisms involved in the urine formation. So next one is the tubular secretions. Tubular secretion means certain substances, so they are not filtered by the glomerular apparatus due to larger size, but finally So they are found in the urine, and such phenomena is known as the tubular secretion. Simply entry of the essential substances from blood to the urine. So that phenomena is known as the tubular secretion. It is also essential for secretions of water, glucose, amino acids, electrolytes from blood to the urine. Okay, so here the tubular secretion, it was mainly occurs in the proximal convoluted tubules. So where the creatinine or hydrogen ion and ammonia, so that was enter from blood into the urine, and leuphophenol only, so the urea can enter from blood into the urine. Okay, then distal collecting tubules. So here, okay, so that is the hydrogen ion, ammonia and potassium, so that was enter into the urine from the blood. And the last part site, that is the collecting duct. So here the hydrogen ion, ammonia and potassium, so that was re-enter into the final urine, then through which so they are excreted from the body. So that's why the tubular secretion, so that was helpful for the entry of the substances from blood to the urine. So they are not filtered by the glomerular apparatus. It is especially for creatinine, certain urea, then hippuric acid, certain enzymes. So they are secreted, okay, into the urine. Then they are escaped or excreted from the body. So like that. So these are the three phenomena or mechanism. So those are involved in the formations of the urine. One is the glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption and tubular secretions. So next one we can that is learn regarding the compositions of urine. So urine is a clear transparent fluid normally that has the amber color, and pH is 4.6 to 8. Then average pH of the urine is the 6. Okay, so this pH is essential for the excretions of the certain drugs. It is nearly neutral. So that's why for all kind of the drug can be excreted through the urine. If the pH become acidic means only acidic drug can be excreted. If the pH become basic means only the basic drug can excreted. So that's why the maintenance of the pH of urine, that is the important during the therapy. Otherwise the drug cannot be excreted from the body. Okay, so regarding the concentrations of substance in the in gram per 100 of urine is as below. So that is the urine, it was mainly consist of the 95% water, 2% urea and 0.1% creatinine. Okay, it is also consist of 100 per 100 ml, that is a zero point 0.6 gram sodium, 0.15 potassium, then phosphate, ammonia, uric acid, chloride, sulfate, calcium and as well as the magnesium. And also urine is consists of the traces negligible or absent regarding the protein and glucose, but also consist of the oxygen, nitrogen, carbon and hydrogen. So these are the normal substances, so they are present in the normal urine. So next one, so regarding the abnormal types of urine, if any abnormal substances or abnormal constituents they are present in the urine, so that was considered as the abnormal urine. So there are the certain types of the abnormal urines are there. So one is the first one is the, that is the protein urea. So that is the protein content in urine, so that is known as the protein urea. So that is occurs due to leaky or damage of the glomeruli, because the glomeruli it cannot filter the proteins. If any problems in the glomerular apparatus, so then only the proteins was found in the urine, so that condition was known as the protein urea. Then oliguria, so there is a abnormally small amount of urine, that is nothing but less than, that is a 500 ml, okay, of urine per day that was excreted. So that condition is known as the oliguria. So it is occurred due to shock or kidney damage. So where the urine output that should be the less than the 100 ml. So that condition was known as the oliguria. And polyuria, so large amount of urine can be excreted. That is a more than 2500 ml per day if the urine was excreted, so that condition is known as the polyuria. So that is occurs in the case of the diabetes and as well as the diabetes insipidus, where the urine output is more than the 2500 ml per day. So that condition is known as the polyuria. So next one is the dysuria, that is the painful uncomfortable urination, often from the urinary tract infection. So during urination, if any pain is there or uncomfortable is there, so that condition is known as the dysuria. So that was occurred due to UTI or urinary tract infection. It is more common in the female as compared to the male. Okay, hematuria. So any blood components in the urine, so that condition is known as the hematuria, and hematuria is also abnormal urine. Okay, then glucosuria, there is excess of the glucose found in the urine. So that condition is known as the glucosuria. So glucosuria occurs due to diabetes. Okay, so where the more excess of glucose is there or any problem in the kidney, the glucose cannot be reabsorbed. So on that time, the patient is suffering from the glycosuria or glucose. So these are the abnormal urines. So okay, next one. So regarding the clearance test and micturations. So clearance test, so they are helpful for to note down the renal function, and micturation is nothing but to note down the how much amount of urine can be excreted. Okay, so these are the various method. So they are applied biochemical test. So they are applied to assess the renal function test, that is through a measurement of GFR by clearance test, plasma creatine, urea, uric acid, and beta 2 microglobulin. If you estimate that one and compare with the plasma, means we can got the normal GFR or kidney function test, and also the renal tubular function test like a osmometry measurement, specific protein urea, then as well as glucosuria, amino acid urea. So these are also helpful for to note down the renal functions, and also urine analysis like appearance, specific gravity, osmolality, pH, glucose in the urine, proteins, urinary sedimentation rate. These are also helpful for to assess the renal function test. But in your syllabus for regarding urinary system, so we are having the only clearance test. So clearance test, so already we learn in the medicinal biochemistry through a renal function test. Here also I can highlight some things. So definition regarding the clearance test means, so certain substances in our body, so they are excreted in the normal rate and defined rate in per day. Okay, so study of such substances is helpful for the to know the kidney function test, and such test is known as the clearance test. So here, so what are the substances? So they are considered to assess the renal clearance test. So those are mainly classified into two types, that is the endogenous substance, exogenous substance. Endogenous substance, they are produced inside the body and they are excreted through urine in the fixed rate. So those are creatinine, urea, uric acid. Creatinine is the defined amount of only excreted, but urea, uric acid, so they are abnormally excreted, or their variation there is a variation is there because of those excretion is mainly depending upon the, also depending upon the there is a dietary protein intake. If the protein dietary intake is increases, then their secretion is increases. If their dietary intake is decreases, then the excretion is also decreased, but it is not happening with the creatine. So that's why the creatine clearance test is the one of the ideal test that was helpful for to assess the kidney function test original. And regarding the endogenous, so these are the external substances or drugs, so these are also used to assess the kidney function test, because so these drugs they neither metabolized neither reabsorbed as it is. So how much you are administered, that much only excreted within the 24 hours, but they do not have any physiological rule. So they do not modify the body function, and even so they do not metabolize in the anywhere in the organs including the liver. So that's why the monitoring the these substances in plasma as well as urine, so that was helpful for to assess the renal function test. So that's why, so these exogenous substances is also considered for the kidney clearance test. Among that is the inulin, para amino hippuric acid, then dextrose. So as compared to these three, so this inulin is commonly used. Okay, so as reliable with compare with the creatinine to assess the renal kidney function test. Okay, so clearance it is calculated by using the following formula, that is the U into VE divided by P, and unit is the ml per minute. So the U is urinary concentrations of substance regarding the endogenous as well as exogenous. Then VE, that is the flow of urine flow rate within 24 hours, and an average is that is 1.44 liter. Okay. Then P is the plasma concentrations of substance. So in the case of the creatinine test, so the overnight are they are persons, so they are fastings. Okay, already they are fasting. So in the early morning, so where the doctors, they can collect the or the physiologist, so they collect the urine and subject it to the creatinine. So when they are start to collecting the urine, same time, so though they can collect the plasma, they collect the blood. From the blood simultaneously, so they estimate the creatinine. In the same time, from the urine, so they estimate the creatinine. So those values, so they are put in the here. Okay, then they can calculate the clearance. Okay, and as well as in the case of the exogenous substances, so where the doctors to call the patients in the early morning. Okay, so they give the, so these drug they are administered, okay, by the intravenous route, then or by injections. Then after that, after 1 hour or 2 hour or 4 hour, the different time of interval, so they are monitor the plasma concentration as well as the urine concentration of that substance, that is helpful for to assess the that the glomerular filtration rate or to assess the kidney function test. So these such tests, so they are used to assess the performance of kidney, and those are known as the clearance test. Okay, so these are the clearance test. So they are collecting the both blood sample as well as urine. So normal results are the these in the male, so that is 97 to 137, in the female 88 to 128. So regarding in the they are abnormal in the case of kidney problem, kidney failure, little blood flow to the kidney, damaged filtering units. Then there is a that was related to the kidney problem. So where, so this range can be